Welcome to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Davis. Mandy Rose released, John Cena coming back, and Mr. McMahon knocking at the door he created. It's a packed show at the holiday season for this Talking to the Mic Tuesday. Welcome, everyone. I hope everyone's had a great Tuesday. I hope everyone enjoyed their Monday. Yesterday, I've had a busy but fun weekend. You'll probably get to hear about it on Out of Pocket. We actually won't be having an Out of Pocket episode this Friday because of the holiday season. So you may want to stay tuned for the social media. Out of Pocket _TRSR. If you follow my sports talk radio show on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, you might want to follow the page here over the next 24, 48 hours, just to give you a little heads up of what might be coming in place of the radio show this Friday, because I love talking sports. Jackson loves talking sports. A couple others may love talking sports, and it'll be a great time. But I love talking wrestling. And if you haven't noticed that the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast has moved to Tuesdays, we've went from Mic Drop Monday to Talking to the Mic Tuesday, and we will also be airing this on Wednesdays on Tobacco Road Sports Radio as part of their Wrestling Wednesday lineup. And as I mentioned, our sports radio show won't have an episode this Friday on Tobacco Road or WWBG 1470 AM, but it will resume. And when it resumes, it'll be 4 o'clock on Tobacco Road Sports Radio and WWBG 1470 AM, a new time slot. We've been at 5. We've moved up an hour ahead at 4 to get everybody listening to the show. And if you are listening live to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast today, guess what? You can be a part of the show. This is a live viewing. We are live right now. Yes, you are listening to my voice. And if you have a question, please send it in on Facebook. Send it on YouTube, wherever you may be watching. And guess what? Where you see my name right now, guess what? Your question is going to pop up right there, and you can interrupt the conversation. You can bring up a completely new topic to the podcast I get to cover, or you can comment on whatever I've said. If you have any 2 cents to add in, please feel free to do so. And with all that said, we got to get into the big news out of WWE the last week. In the last 7 days, last Tuesday night, Mandy Rose defended the NXT Women's Championship against Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez winning the Iron Survivor Challenge at NXT Deadline. And she was supposed to have her title match at the beginning of the new year against Mandy Rose. And somebody got into Shawn Michaels' ear, let him know about some stuff that had developed online, and changed the title match to this last week on NXT. And Roxanne Perez actually defeated Mandy Rose, ending the longest historic reign as an NXT Women's Champion in history. Longer than Asuka, longer than Paige, longer than Charlotte, longer than Bayley, longer than all these, longer than Shayna Baszler. And that reign ended at the hands of 21-year-old Roxanne Perez, who went to Booker T's wrestling school in Texas. And Mandy Rose, a day later, less than 24 hours, released by WWE. And it's kind of interesting reading all the stuff that has been going on. There's speculation whether Mandy Rose knew ahead of NXT that day that she was going to eventually be released by the WWE. And that may be the case. Or she may have been completely shocked and, it was just flabbergasted by her getting released by WWE that Wednesday. And we covered this a little bit on Out of Pocket. We have a wrestling segment a lot of times. So, I'm not going to dive in too much, but I did go back and watch this match. And, if you didn't catch Out of Pocket, you can go back on YouTube. You can go back on Spotify or Tobacco Road Sports Radio channel and listen. Ryan Frick and I talked about this quite a bit. But I went back and watched the match with Mandy Rose versus Roxanne Perez, and seeing the reaction of Mandy Rose immediately after I can't help but think that she did know about it going forward. She knew why she was dropping the title this early. Again, the show was rewritten that day. This is a Vince McMahon kind of thing where WWE's been very good about having the show written in advance, so there's not much changes. But that was not the case with NXT this past week, completely changing the show around to get the title off Mandy Rose. Obviously affects what you were going to have as your main event. It just continued to snowball, and Mandy Rose released. And I also watched the match with JC Jane and Gigi Dolan as Toxic Attraction. Mandy Rose did not come out for that match. And it feels like that this isn't the end of Toxic Attraction. Dolan, Jane are going to try to make it on their own. It's going to be very challenging for them. It's going to be very challenging for them to get on with a life without Mandy Rose, which is very unfortunate because she was really the puzzle piece that made it all work. Mandy Rose was the center of attention. Mandy Rose was the leader of the group, helping Gigi and JC. Mandy had already been on the main roster. It worked perfectly. And they were an attraction. They were Toxic Attraction, which brings me to this could jeopardize how well NXT's first premium live event going on the road, and that is Vengeance Day in Charlotte, North Carolina. Woo! At the Spectrum Center, February 4th at the beginning of the year. And they've been hyping this premium live event, first one that has been on the road since the pandemic for NXT. And there goes to show you, like, they booked this with the idea in mind that Toxic Attraction, Mandy Rose, JC Jane, Gigi Dolan were going to be there. They are the main attraction of NXT. I don't think there's anyone on the roster right now that you could be like, okay, I do want to go pay good money to see them compete. New Day just won the NXT tag team titles. I'm sure that helps. Going to watch the New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defend the NXT tag titles if they hold it till that event at Vengeance Day in Charlotte, North Carolina. You have Braun Breaker. You know he's going to be a generational talent. I'm assuming Carmelo Hayes is there. I would love to see Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes at Vengeance Day. I feel like that match needs to happen before one of them go to the main roster. And it's just very, very unfortunate of the timing of the news about Mandy Rose's website, the stuff that she was putting out for there behind her paywall. And, Matt Bloom, formerly known as Albert A-Train, Lord Tensai, brought up to Shawn Michaels the day of NXT last week, and they got the title off of her, which was their decision. I'm not faulting anyone's decision in this matter, but I will say this before moving on to my next topic, which is much more happy and, nice, whatever. But Mandy Rose is, how do I put this gently? Mandy Rose is a talented woman in the industry. Okay. She has worked really hard to prove that she wasn't just a pretty face and was doing her best in storytelling with Otis on Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, worked with Dan Brooke a little bit, and then they brought her down to NXT to repackage her. And they totally changed her character, made her a legitimate wrestler. And it's kind of a shame because now we're not going to be able to see her continue to progress. And it's because of the content that she put out by herself. She's making a lot more money a month than she is in an entire year with WWE. So it's obviously for the money, but maybe we'll see Mandy Rose in wrestling down the road, but we will be seeing wrestling is the person that says you can't see him. It's going to be John Cena on the December 30th edition of SmackDown, the final WWE event of the entire year. John Cena has had a record of 20 straight years of wrestling a match in WWE since his debut against Kurt Angle in the summer of 2002. And now John Cena appeared on SmackDown on the Tron saying that he is accepting Kevin Owens' match. John Cena is going to team with Kevin Owens to face Sami Zayn, the honorary Uce, and the Tribal Chief, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. And this is awesome because, a few months ago, you read the report that John Cena has wrestled a consecutive match each year that he's been in WWE. whether it was last year against Roman Reigns, whether it was 2 years ago against Bray Wyatt at the Pandemic Mania. I mean, John Cena has been a vocal part of the WWE programming for years, like 2 decades. And over the last several years, he's been in Hollywood. He's taken the Rock route, which he adamantly opposed in his promos leading up to the once or twice in a lifetime match with The Rock. And John Cena's found success. Peacemaker. Good for him. Happy for him. But WWE needed to find a big reason to tune in on December 30th, which is a big challenge around this time because you have Christmas, you have New Year's, you have all these holiday celebrations. People are traveling, spend time with their families. Not everybody has time to watch 3 hours of Monday Night Raw. That's why we're not getting a Raw episode next week. We're getting a best of WWE episode next week for Raw. Not everybody has time to watch 2 hours of SmackDown on a Friday night in prime time when you're going out for dinner, you're spending time with the family, you're watching a Christmas movie. People need a reason to tune in to SmackDown this upcoming Friday or 2 weeks from now. And it's interesting because John Cena not only gets to keep his streak alive, John Cena isn't only a big name that people will tune in to see, but he has a connection to everyone in the match. Okay. Roman Reigns was tabbed as the next John Cena. Roman Reigns was tabbed as the next guy, the next face of WWE. And John Cena came back for a match against Roman Reigns and basically said, I'm only here because you can't do your job. Follow that up with their match last year in the summer where Roman Reigns defeated John Cena and retained the Universal Championship at the time. And now John Cena returns after falling short to Roman Reigns in that encounter and is now facing the Tribal Chief, who is being marketed and being built as the greatest of all time. You look at how many days, I think he's going to break 1,000. I think he's at 800 some now. He's going to break 1,000. That's not to be questioned. He's going to enter a match with The Rock, as long as The Rock's schedule permits, at WrestleMania in Hollywood. He's going to defeat The Rock. That is your last big task to cement your legacy as the greatest of all time. That's what they're building towards. Roman Reigns facing John Cena on the last SmackDown of 2022 is going to help that case. And with John Cena, look at Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Cena fought Sami Zayn, and in the United States Open Challenge, Sami Zayn hurts his shoulder. Well, now that Sami Zayn's hurt his shoulder, guess who gets the call up to the main roster instead? Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, his first night, he's still holding the NXT Championship, mind you, and he goes and attacks John Cena and lays him out, has a killer match versus Cena on pay-per-view. And so Cena has a connection with everyone on this match. Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. And it's pretty cool because Kevin Owens has, in recent memory, teamed with Elias. And Owens and Elias just had a rivalry, or let's be fair, Kevin Owens and Elias's younger brother, Ezekiel. I'm sorry, that was a blunder on my part. My Facebook and YouTube caught that, by the way. And so before he teamed up with him to face the common enemies in the bloodline, Owens referenced that past. Okay. Followed up with this past week on Monday Night Raw. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins have a common enemy in the bloodline. And then backstage, Owens acknowledges that past. I feel like we're going to get the same interaction with Kevin Owens and John Cena, referencing Kevin Owens' debut on the main roster. But it's going to be a good match. It's going to be a reason to tune in. It isn't this Friday, December 23rd. It's going to be the following Friday, but they've given 2 weeks to build this up, knowing how important those holiday numbers are and giving fans a reason to tune in. But bringing me to this question before we get into break, could Sami Zayn lose this for the bloodline? It makes perfect sense to have Roman Reigns pin John Cena. It makes perfect sense for Roman Reigns to pin Kevin Owens. Even though they might be moving towards a Roman Reigns-Kevin Owens match at the Royal Rumble, It would make perfect sense for Roman to pin one of these, continue to cement his legacy. But what if Sami Zayn, after he was a big part in the Bloodline defeating Kevin Owens' team at War Games, what if Sami Zayn is actually pinned by John Cena? What if Sami Zayn is actually pinned by Kevin Owens? And now Roman Reigns has lost his first match on SmackDown in 3 years. Talk about, I mean, and this is why I've trusted AEW for 3 years, because they put all their stories into place well in advance. Okay. Chris Jericho and Action Andretti, we'll get into the next segment, Sports Entertainment Spitfire. Like, that was planned 2 months ago with Chris Jericho's ROH reign, Action Andretti, like, coming in and, being taken off television only to upset Jericho in his Dynamite debut. Nobody expected it. The Bloodline story has been laid out so perfectly, leading up to The Rock at WrestleMania in Hollywood. I'm sure they've secured him at this point, because if not, it's going to be a huge letdown for everybody who wants to see that match. So they could go several different ways, but I feel like they already know where they want to go in this. So it's very possible that Sami Zayn loses the match, and now there's distrust between Roman Reigns, the Bloodline, and Sami Zayn. There's a lot of ways this could go. I'm really excited to see how this pans out. Again, that match is not this Friday. It's a week from Friday, but they've built 2 weeks in for this to be built up, and as it should be, because this is going to be a good match that people will tune in for even during the holiday season. But whether you're listening to us live on Facebook or YouTube on Tuesday live, or if you're listening to us on Wednesday on Tobacco Road Sports Radio as they're Wrestling Wednesdays, we're going into a break. When we come back, we have this beloved segment returning, Sports Entertainment Spitfire. We're going to address some Vince McMahon return rumors. We're going to address Chris Jericho losing in a major upset. We're going to talk about some maybe Forbidden Door Royal Rumble entrance. So much to uncover when we come back after the break. If you're listening on Facebook Live, YouTube, or Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. Stay tuned for this Talking to the Mic Tuesday on the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. Welcome back to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Davis, and we have had a really great show so far. And just wanted to remind you, if you are listening live, whether that be on Facebook, whether that be on YouTube, you can be a part of the podcast, okay? Where you see my name on the very visual, Michael Davis, and then my Insta, at Drop the Mic Wrestling. Go follow us. You can see your question pop up right there on the show. Whether you want to comment on anything I've mentioned so far in the show, or if you would just bring up an entirely random new topic, which is exactly why we had the Sports Entertainment Spitfire segment. Right now, we're going to talk and address a lot of stuff, but don't forget to follow our YouTube, our Spotify, our Facebook, or our Instagram at Drop the Mic Wrestling for more content throughout the week. But it's Sports Entertainment Spitfire time, and eventually we'll get some, cool like sound effect, whatever. But we got to start out Sports Entertainment Spitfire. This is very quick, very hot takes on a lot of stuff that's going on in wrestling, because a lot of stuff has happened in the last week, including Vince McMahon returning rumors. Now, I just want you to not have a panic attack. This is just rumors, and it's actually not true, okay? So I'm going to explain this. Return rumors for Vince McMahon coming back to WWE. Let's be honest, this won't happen. This wouldn't happen. This would be very detrimental to WWE. That's why you've seen a lot of reports come out from people inside the company saying this is not what we want. You've seen Saraya, who is completely out of WWE in AEW, saying this would be bad for the product. And let me tell you, it's only because of the documentary, The 9 Lives of Vince McMahon, that's coming out on Vice right now. That is the only reason this is being talked about. Okay, this is the only reason this is being talked about, because Triple H is in full control. Triple H is running things his way, and Vince McMahon's not interrupting this. We're about 5 or 6 months into the Vince McMahon, gone away era. We're about 5, 6 months into the game era, the Triple H era. We've seen a lot of his guys return, and best we can see of a return for Vince McMahon is potentially in the Hall of Fame, which, despite everything going on, despite the bad publicity, a Hall of Fame induction is necessary for Vince McMahon. I want to see it happen. It'd be kind of fitting to have it in Hollywood, and I think it's more important right now that we get Vince McMahon in the Hall of Fame before he passes on, because you want to hear that Hall of Fame speech. I don't know what he'll say, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if it'll be short and sweet. I don't know if it'll be long. I don't know if it'll be emotional. But this would be a Vince McMahon induction post his time in WWE. If he's open to it, which I would hope he would, it would be a travesty to have Vince McMahon inducted into the Hall of Fame after he's gone. It's a travesty for anyone. If Owen Hart ever gets in the Hall of Fame, which he deserves to be in, the fact that he's not around to see it would be a travesty. Eddie Guerrero, Umaga. Umaga's not in the Hall of Fame. I feel like he needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, there are a lot of guys who really needed that chance. Ultimate Warrior barely got it in. Ultimate Warrior passed away like 2 days after his Hall of Fame induction, and I'm glad he was able to have that opportunity. But Vince McMahon not returning to the WWE in any aspect. But who did return to the WWE this week is Bronson Reed. I mean, that's cool. He helped The Miz defeat Dexter Lumis, winning the Double or Nothing ladder match. And it's another Triple H guy. You saw that coming. And Triple H was very high on him in NXT. Vince McMahon was not. Does this extend the program with Dexter Lumis and Johnny Gargano? Maybe, maybe not. I'm kind of like, okay, this is kind of running its course. You might be able to get another month out of this, having a Miz and Bronson Reed tag team match over Lumis and Gargano. Maybe you have a month out of this. You could have each four face each other in singles competition. You could have a couple promos, whatever that case may be. But this is starting to, okay, we've been seeing this literally ever since Triple H took control back in the summer. We're going to need something fresh, but Bronson Reed, I'm kind of excited to see if he remains aligned with The Miz, because who knows, maybe it happens. And switching gears a little bit to AEW, because this is Sports Entertainment Spitfire. If you want to comment any topic that you want talked about on the podcast for this segment, this is all you guys. So until then, we're just running through a few comments, a few topics, and one of them is the AEW Fight Forever video game. And I was reading Evil Uno, because Evil Uno, a part of the Dark Order, has some pull with this video game. Obviously, also Kenny Omega. And it's very interesting because they were asked why it's called Fight Forever. And obviously, that's a big chant in wrestling nowadays. You hear that a lot in AEW just because of the quality of wrestling, high-octane offense by the wrestlers that compete in AEW. Well, this is a game that apparently is going to get updated. It's going to last with updates. And I kind of thought, okay, is this Fortnite where you're putting in new patches, where you're creating a completely new, different season of the game rather than releasing? Because this is where games like Madden, games like WWE, games like 2K even have gotten in trouble in the past is, okay, it's a new year. You got to sell a new game. You got to put something out there. You got to update the roster, everything. But they get criticized for bringing out the new game each and every year, just different roster. And that's been met with a lot of criticism. Well, apparently to AEW's idea, their idea is, let's release one video game for now. And as we need to, we can update rosters, maybe even DLCs, maybe make some money that way. Updates, download patches with new rosters, new wrestlers that come into AEW. And my only question is, how's the game modes? Are the game modes going to stay the same? Are patches and updates going to contain new game modes? I heard maybe a general manager mode. Hopefully, please. And hopefully it's better than WWE 2K1 right now. It's WWE 2K22. It's on the right track, but we need a little bit more from that general manager mode. And what happens when stars leave AEW for WWE? Is Cody Rhodes still going to be in this game? Is this person, that person who's left AEW going to be in the new game? Like that, there's questions about that. Will Action Andretti be in this game? Because I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that last name right, because this is a jobber. He got chance this past Wednesday on Dynamite. Let's go, jobber. Okay. Action Andretti was facing Chris Jericho in his Dynamite debut. And I was watching this with my dad. I was on my laptop, just chilling, whatever. And all of a sudden, I see, my dad go, "What?" And I'm just like typing away. I think I'm working on something. I look up and this kid's running around and Chris Jericho's just stunned in the ring. I'm like, what happened? Did Action Andretti, this new guy, lose? Like, did he beat Chris Jericho? And so I had to do research on the guy. He's like 24 years old. Chris Jericho vouched for this. This is why AEW is thriving. Because, yeah, they do have a lot of ex-WWE guys. They got Jericho. They got Mox. They got Danielson. They got Claudio. They got guys who are not getting a lot of shine like Malachi Black. You got Miro. You got Buddy. You got this one. You got that one. Well, they're good at building their own stars. Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, MJF, and Ricky Starks main evented this past week's Dynamite Winners Coming. Like, they are good. The Acclaim, they are good at building stars, using guys from WWE to build their other stars. And that's exactly what they did with Chris Jericho. And apparently, I was reading on this. This was apparently supposed to happen before the pandemic to Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy was supposed to have the upset win over Chris Jericho. It never happened because the pandemic happened and they wanted that crowd reaction. And the crowd got behind Action Andretti. And Jericho actually vouched to lose to Action Andretti, which baffles my mind. Jericho watched Action Andretti in like a YouTube dark match and went to Tony Khan and immediately said, "I want you to take Action Andretti off every streaming AEW thing that you could possibly have, because I want to lose a Ring of Honor title. And then the week after, I want to lose to Action Andretti and give him that upset win, make him a star." A lot of people compare it to John Cena, Kurt Angle, but Kurt Angle beat John Cena in that match 20 years ago on SmackDown. Action Andretti beat Chris Jericho this week on Dynamite. And what does Tony Khan do with Action Andretti moving forward? Well, you got to book him as a star. You got to have him hang with some of your bigger guys. You have to have him beat some of your bigger guys and put a character behind him, maybe put him in a stable, maybe even try to get him involved with the Jericho Appreciation Society, the Blackpool Combat Club. Haven't been impressed with Wheeler Yuta yet, but that could be a lot. But what could be reunited in WWE is the Hurt Business. Bobby Lashley, last Monday night on Raw, fired by Adam Pearce. Storyline, of course. That's what you get for stories. And, and Matt Cosgrove commenting, 123 Kid beating Razor Ramon. He commented on our Facebook stream. I mean, it was that kind of upset win for Action Andretti, and nobody expected it. And that's a perfect analogy right there, because 123 Kid, his debut, and Razor doing the job for him. And kudos to Razor for doing that job. Kudos to Chris Jericho doing that job. Matt, thank you so much for commenting and listening in to the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast, as this Talking to the Mic Tuesday. And just like you, if you want your comment shown, you can have your comment shown if you comment on Facebook, YouTube during the show. And Hurt Business. MVP approaches Adam Pearce this past Monday on Raw, wanting to talk about Bobby Lashley. MVP's been representing Omos recently. Omos, where's Omos? He hasn't been seen since his match against Braun Strowman a couple months ago in Saudi Arabia. Shelton and Cedric attacked by the Bloodline. That could be perfect for the Hurt Business to reunite. And that has been one of the biggest misses in WWE in the last 3 years because of how good the Hurt Business was, how good Bobby Lashley was being made a star with MVP. Shelton Benjamin, the veteran, Cedric Alexander getting the rub by running with those guys. That stable was top notch. You wanted the Bloodline. You wanted the Bloodline versus Hurt Business. And with all the factions in WWE now, with the OC, the Judgment Day, if you bring the Hurt Business back, that is going to do wonders for the product moving forward. And Bobby Lashley actually rumored to wrestle Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. They teased it a few weeks ago on Raw when Seth Rollins said that, Bobby, you can't beat Brock Lesnar. Well, if Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley is the route they're going for the Royal Rumble, rumors say that Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania opponent is going to be the current reigning Intercontinental Champion, Gunther. And I got 2 words. Yes, please. This is a dream match, knowing how hard Gunther hits, knowing how credible Gunther is. Gunther is actually the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in the last decade right now. And he's got about 30 more days until he passes Cody Rhodes' reign back in 2011. But the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion right now for Gunther, he's only held it since the summer when he beat Ricochet for the Intercontinental title. He successfully retained against Ricochet, the SmackDown World Cup winner this past week on SmackDown. Like, Gunther versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania would be great. And the question is, should Gunther enter with the Intercontinental Champion to that match against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? I'm saying no, because would Brock Lesnar, even though that's a title he's never won, would Brock Lesnar really try to compete for the Intercontinental title? Do you want the title not to be defended at WrestleMania? If you want to bring prestige, which is what Triple H has done the last 6 months, is bring prestige to the United States title, bring prestige to the Intercontinental title, you need that title defended. Brock Lesnar is not going to challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. He has no reason to. Gunther needs to drop the Intercontinental title before WrestleMania. And you could even bring this into the storyline, because maybe Brock Lesnar is the reason Gunther loses the title. Imagine this. Gunther enters the Royal Rumble as the Intercontinental Champion. Brock Lesnar enters the Royal Rumble. Well, Gunther eliminates Brock Lesnar, and then maybe a month later at the Elimination Chamber, Gunther is cost the Intercontinental title by Brock Lesnar showing up, doing his Cowboy Brock gimmick, and now Gunther has a reason to go after Brock Lesnar, and that sets up the WrestleMania match. If that happens, somebody come back to this show, give me some credit. Give me some credit. Speaking of the Royal Rumble, there has been some Forbidden Door rumors, okay? One of them for appearing in the Royal Rumble is Kairi, formerly known as Kairi Sane. She was a former WWE star before she was released by WWE, and she's wrestling in Japan right now. She's actually the Stardom champion, if I do believe. Yeah, because she actually is the IWGP Women's Champion, and she'll defend her title against Tam Nakano at Wrestle Kingdom 17. We'll talk about that in a future episode of the podcast, going over a little bit of the Wrestle Kingdom, because that is a great card. You're going to get King Omega versus Will Ospreay. What a show, right? But Kairi Sane would be a great one. Minoru Suzuki's another name I heard. I think this is very doubtful with his ties to AEW, but who knows? If Minoru Suzuki shows up in WWE, if the Great Muta, that is a name that nobody has thrown out. If the Great Muta is wrestling Shinsuke Nakamura in Japan, if they've opened that Forbidden Door, what better way to add a cap to the Great Muta's career by having him appear in the Royal Rumble match this January? And speaking of Japan, Sasha Banks is a free agent right now. It's a shame that nobody has snatched her up yet. And it'd be a shame if nobody snatched her up in 2023, but she's rumored for a Wrestle Kingdom appearance in Japan on January 4th. And the reason she hasn't been picked up, apparently, is she's asking for a lot of money. A lot of money. So Sasha is obviously entered the WWE as one of the four horsewomen: Bayley, Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha. Well, after disgruntlement with Vince McMahon and the past regime, she left. She's not come back, even though Triple H is in charge. But she's just asking for way too much money right now, where AEW hasn't picked her up. Impact can't afford her. Japan, apparently can afford her to appear at Wrestle Kingdom. If so, that's awesome. But Sasha Banks, she has so much talent. She has so much character. She has so much charisma. It'd be a shame to not have her in the wrestling industry in the next year. But when we come back, we have another beloved segment. You just got done listening to our sports entertainment Spitfire segment. But when we come back, we have our Rose, Thorn, and Bud segment, as well as what to look forward to the week ahead when we come back after the break on the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. Welcome back to the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Davis. You're usually used to listening to us on Monday nights right before Raw. Well, now you get to listen to us as part of the Talking to the Mic Tuesday. The mic's right there. You can't see it because it's out of the camera shot. You get my lovely face, though, if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube Live right now on Tuesday night, or you may be listening to my voice on Tobacco Road Sports Radio and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com on Wednesday afternoons as part of the Wrestling Wednesday card for Tobacco Road Sports Radio. If you want to be a part of the show, just like Matt Cosgrove was on the last segment, Sports Entertainment Spitfire, shoot us a message, shoot us a comment on Facebook or YouTube, and we get your questions answered, we get your topics answered. But until then, you can follow us on our social media, our YouTube, our Spotify, our Facebook, our Instagram, at Drop the Mic Wrestling. We have a lot of content coming out. And again, you can listen to me on Fridays, TGI Friday, Out of Pocket with Michael Davis at 4 o'clock on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, WWBG 1470 AM. Except for this Friday, we're going to take a little break because of the holiday season, thankfully. Get to spend time with family, friends alike. Maybe do some last-minute Christmas shopping because now I have a debit card because somebody decided to hack my card, a few weeks ago. But we got all that settled. And you may want to look at our social media, outpocket_TRSR. Again, our social media content for the radio show on Fridays, outpocket_TRSR. You may want to go follow that in the next, 24 hours, because you don't want to miss what is going to be in place of the radio show on Friday. We don't want to leave you hanging. And with that said, it's time for our Rose, Thorn, and Bud segment of the week. This is our wrestling wrap. And a Rose, and it was really hard because I really enjoyed SmackDown. I really enjoyed Monday Night Raw, but I really enjoyed Dynamite last week. But if I had to pick a Rose, it is Hangman Page's promo backstage. It was literally 2-3 minutes long, and he's talking about the night that he was concussed. Very scary moment. His title match with Jon Moxley ends early. MJF comes out, says that he's going to earn it. Very improv, on the spot promo work by MJF, Jon Moxley at that time, while Hangman's being stretchered out. Hangman says, "Hey, it's one of the scariest moments of my life. It's awful. Like, I'm in the ambulance being asked questions. I know today's date. I know the city we're in. I know what I was doing, wrestling the world champion." And then he's getting, his phone blew up, and the trainer apparently hands him the phone. He's like, "You're getting a lot of text calls. You want to unlock your phone." And he has a picture of his baby boy on his phone and was asked, "Who is this?" And Hangman Page couldn't remember his baby boy's name. Wow. Chills, goosebumps all over your arm because of that segment. Wow. The fact that Hangman Page in a moment's notice can create that animosity with Jon Moxley, incredible. The Thorn, I'll have two. and it was really hard not to put 3 because Rampage was just a cluster. Like it was bad. Rampage was bad. What was also bad was Tribute to the Troops. And Tribute to the Troops has fallen way off in the last few years. And I hope they get back to the aesthetic of being at a base, being outside. And I didn't see a single person in the audience in a military uniform, which is the whole point of Tribute to the Troops. I don't know if that was open to, vets, their families. I don't know if that was open to active duty, reserves, their families. But I'm like, I want for them to go to a base and safely, of course, and put a performance on for the troops because it's tribute to the troops. That was my big thorn. The other one, Xia Li comes out, attacks, does an attack on Monday Night Raw, and all of a sudden, she's like, and it's pretty much joining Damage Control. She comes in masked, isn't acknowledged until just randomly. Oh, it was Xia Li, and nothing followed up with it. It was a very weird booking moment. But when it comes to the Bud, what I'm looking forward to, Rose, best part of the week. Thorn, worst part of the week. Bud, what I'm looking forward to this week is tag team wrestling. Yes, tag team wrestling matters now. And this is a perfect segue into what to look forward to the rest of the week, because you have a tag team who is trying to make tag team wrestling matter. FTR, 7-star FTR, is going to be facing the Guns, Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn, the sons of legendary Hall of Famer Billy Gunn. They have had so much animosity over the last couple of months, and FTR is finally facing the Guns. And this is Holiday Bash for AEW. FTR had a really good 6-man tag match last year, teaming with CM Punk at Holiday Bash. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the Greensboro Coliseum with CM Punk, but it's FTR versus Guns. And it's probably going to be the second best trios tag match ever on Holiday Bash history, because we got Death Triangle with the 3-1 lead over the Elite in the AEW World Trios Championship Series. It's going to be a no disqualification. The hammer that has been used virtually every single match is officially legal. And let's be honest, it's 3-1. You've already announced that a potential match 7 is going to be a ladder match. The Elite's winning. The Elite's winning. They're going to win this match. They're going to force a match 7. But I am ready for the story to take place and come back from a 3-1 deficit to force a match 7. And anytime you put these 6 guys in the ring, it's going to be magic. And with no disqualification, it's going to be even better. For SmackDown, there's a couple tag matches you want to watch out for ahead of a week from Friday, with John Cena and Kevin Owens teaming with Roman Reigns and teaming up to face Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. Well, we have Braun Strowman and Ricochet this Friday versus Imperium in a Miracle on 34th Street fight. We get those every single year, but it's fun. It's fun. It's lighthearted. It's December 23rd. It's the day before Christmas Eve. It's Christmas Eve, as I like to say. Strowman and Ricochet could probably beat Imperium, and it's pretty much leaning towards Braun Strowman versus Gunther for the Intercontinental title. And we do have a tag title match on SmackDown. The Usos defend the undisputed WWE tag team titles against Hit Row, Ashante, the Adonis, Top Dollar, who botched and somehow ended up okay after that SmackDown collapse over the top rope. Did not clear the rope at all, and everyone acted as he did. But it's okay. It's whatever. We can, suspend our imagination for a moment. It's obvious the Usos are going to win this match, but, it gives Hit Row a little rub. They couldn't have the Viking Raiders, after their newfound attitude, face the heel tag team, the Usos. They couldn't have Legado, who they're trying to get over his heels, against the Usos. So you have to have your face tag team, Hit Row, face the Usos for the titles. And why not? The Usos are going to win. It's going to be a good match. Give Hit Row something to hang their cap on. And everything else to look for the rest of the week. We got a women's gauntlet for the SmackDown #1 contendership. I forget the 5 other competitors. I know there's Liv Morgan, But at the end of the day, Raquel Rodriguez is going to win this. They hinted at that last week on SmackDown as Ronda Baszler attacked her. Raquel wins this. She gets her match against Ronda Rousey either at the beginning of the year or she's going to get it at the Royal Rumble. I say you give it to her December 30th or the week after, either last SmackDown of the year or the first SmackDown of the year. That's when you do it. And AEW's Holiday Bash, they have Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida for the title. Jamie Hayter's not losing this title soon, and she's not losing it to Hikaru Shida, who's already had her run as AEW Women's World Champion. And then we have Swerve in Our Glory, face to face. Is this finally the time? Is this finally the time that Swerve and Keith Lee split up and officially go their separate ways? Who knows? And there's only one way to find out. You can tune in Wednesday night at AEW's Dynamite Holiday Bash. And you can tune in next week on Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast on Tuesday nights on Facebook Live and on YouTube. Or you can tune in on Wednesdays, Tobacco Road Sports Radio and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com as part of the card for Wrestling Wednesdays that they've set up. You got Tap Outs and Touchdowns with Ryan Frick. I had him on the Out of Pocket episode last week, talking wrestling, talking Mandy Rose, talking about all the stuff that's going on in wrestling. Great guy. You don't want to miss us on social media either. At Drop the Mic Wrestling on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Facebook. You got to follow us. You got to keep up to date. And with that said, it's been another Talking to the Mic Tuesday. And it's been another episode of the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast. And we will see you next week.